Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Boston's major is officially here. It begins tomorrow. The teams, it seems, have arrived safely in person, which was not the case last year with some of the travel problems these teams run into. But the pick of the first round matches, no doubt, is Miami versus the OpTic guys. Again, we saw them play this past weekends. They play again at first round of the major. Kenny says that despite the fact that OpTic do have some teamwork issues, they're actually much better and have improved somewhat on what it's actually looked like in their matches this past weekend. Is that going to be enough when LAN comes into play? Kenny reckons the team is still very confident. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. Here are the boys, by the way, getting out to the event. And these are the OpTic guys here. Don't know where Shotzzy is precisely. We've got Kenny, we've got Pred, we got obviously Dashy, JP Chris in the background, and then I don't know why the pilot. Okay, this guy looks like a pilot. I guess, you know, he's not the actual pilot of the flight, but he's sitting there. So people wondering exactly what's going on here. But those guys, I guess, made it out safely. There was also this in Drazah. This reminded me a little bit of what Crimsix said a few months ago, and Crim actually had a few other words to say on Shotzzy. We'll see in a second here. So I thought I'd mention it because, like, I'm not familiar with Delta, but it doesn't seem like these are standard economy seats as far as I'm concerned. And this guy in the replies more says first class. Drazah's like, I'm like that, right? So, you know, Drazah's paying the big bucks to get out there for the event. Maybe the team is funding it. I don't know. But this is actually a big talking point that Crim mentions. I don't know if you guys remember when this was discussed, where loads of players were tweeting out themselves flying to the World Tours of Warzone in London in, you know, business or first class or whatever. And Crim said that that's basically a bad mindset, right? You know, the amount of guys that paying to fly first class is comedy, paying loads of extra money for a couple of hours, choosing comfort over a personal test of resilience. So this is his tweet. So Crim, I don't imagine, has changed his opinion on this, and he probably thinks that if he's seen Drazah maybe in those seats, just thinking, all right, that's a bad mindset because you want to be, you know, fully locked in. I don't know. I think it can go either way. If you're booking like a private jet to fly out there for the event, then possibly you're going to put yourself in like a wrong mindset situation, right? Because maybe you're going in really thinking you're the man and you've already kind of made it, whereas maybe that's not quite the mindset you want. I don't know. Crim always has interesting perspectives on this type of stuff, but that was his thought a few months ago, so maybe he would replicate that thought today with what is going on. Because didn't OpTic, weren't they like flying business or something like a few events ago? Wasn't it last year they went to Toronto's Major 5 and they, I don't know, I don't think they had the standard seating, and after they got bashed out top 12, Hex was like, right, I'm never paying for that ever again. These boys are flying economy until they prove otherwise, basically. So we'll see how that goes. There was also a big confirmation yesterday, though, from the Overwatch League Esports side, basically. So the OWL, which came around, what, 2 years before the CDL, has ceased to exist now. Everything's gone. But they have, you know, confirmed a next step for Overwatch Esports is the Overwatch Champions Series or whatever it's going to be. So this is the calendar. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty tragic, but there are positives to it, right? Because there's a finals in November and there's like one major, I'm guessing like one major per like region, I guess. So obviously Overwatch is different as an esport, like region based than Call of Duty tends to be, because, you know, the COD League would pretty much, even if it went back to the CWL, realistically, I don't think it would be split up quite as this is. But anyway, I don't know why there's a 2-month break in June and July. Like, leave that to those guys to figure out, I guess. But this is what they kind of looks like with qualifiers, and then like they get basically one major and then one champ. So it's not a great format, but it is a format. And the Overwatch League is now gone, so they're actually bringing it back to some degree. It's not great, and I think there's questions on if the Call of Duty League disappears, what happens next, whether it would look like this or whether it would look like something from another esports. But one of the big positives here, no doubt, is the way the qualifiers work. It's totally open, so any team can qualify, which again is like, that's what we want to get back to. And sure, if the CDL came up with a format like this with a 2-month break for seemingly no reason, but still a relatively long season in some respects, it would definitely be a step back in what could be the right direction, although I'd like to see more events than that. So, you know, just for example, this is what Halo are doing. So I wonder what will happen, because the COD League can surely not be that long for this world, especially what we're seeing with the Overwatch side. They now have their next step in Overwatch Esports. Halo, which is also a Microsoft thing, is looking like this season, with events from, you know, the Open Series from basically early February to October, which isn't a bad season length. Okay, 4 events plus champs, which is, you know, maybe we'd want more, but still a pretty, I think people are pretty happy, to be honest, with this Halo roadmap for the upcoming season. So, you know, I think there's a few things that COD can pull from as and when the time potentially comes on that. Just to mention quickly on the kind of of private matches and CDL stuff. In private matches, they say they've adjusted rules to actually mean the competitive settings work properly, so I guess we'll see if that actually works. And also just to note, these things are getting banned shortly as restrictions in the ranked mode just because they want to follow the pro GAs basically, so that is coming soon. But some other big talking points, of course, for this weekend. These are the matches day one. There's a couple of these that could be interesting. I don't really see FaZe and Ultra slipping up. I think that maybe Subliners Rocket could be interesting, and then certainly the final series of the day, that is the big game for round one, no doubt about it. Now, before we get into what Kenny had to say on this, got to share Crimsix's analysis on Shotzzy's play against FaZe. Now, hindsight is, you know, it's easy to talk with hindsight, right? And to look back at this play and say, well, maybe Shotzzy should have done something differently. This was in the final moment of the game against FaZe. He tries to leave Cellium where he is, and then, you know, go on to sneak through and get a guaranteed kill in the hill. Realistically, Shotzzy needed probably 2 kills anyway, and people are kind of torn between saying he made the good play or whether he should have just killed Cell and then run to the hill and tried to win the gunfight there, because he needed a couple of kills anyway to make this play work. So Crim, of course, who played with Shotzzy, and arguably the best version of Shotzzy that we saw was when he was, you know, slightly more disciplined when he was playing with Crim and for Clay. Like, there was definitely a feeling, you know, when Crim was playing with Shotzzy, his first coming into the Call of Duty League, and Shotzzy talked about how Crim would tell him, look, go for the first, go for the second, then, you know, don't go for the third, and maybe have him a bit more on a leash. There's some questions as to whether, you know, now Shotzzy's off the leash a little bit more, whether that's actually been good or bad for his impact as a player, because I think the talent certainly hasn't gone anywhere. So I'll show what Crim had to say on this in a second. As I say, he says it's a dumb play, and I'm not really going to argue with, you know, the most event winners of all time in Crim, but at the same time, like, hindsight is quite easy to say. The other thing I just wanted to mention is this FaZe comms video came out yesterday when we saw it from their point of views and from their comms. This is Cell's point of view when he hears Shotzzy behind him. Well, I'm guessing he hears him because, I mean, have a look at this. He turns around, like, hip fire, gets a couple of shots off. Like, it's quite clear here that he, well, he must have just heard him. There's no other real explanation as to why Cell would do this, because Shotzzy's sneaking through him. Now, aBeZy did call out, to be fair, that they're missing one. They're looking for one, so they probably knew that they were still looking for Shotzzy in the back somewhere, but he must have heard something, because to turn around like this, hip fire, manage to get a bullet off, and then get a couple of shots on Shotzzy is pretty wild. So, yeah, people are saying sound EQ, whatever, I don't know. Cell's ears were turned up to the max, because he heard something, whether a slide, whether a weapon change, I don't know. It's the only explanation.
Are they going to expect this? Is someone going to turn around? It does not matter. Does not matter. Dude, oh my God, bro. Maybe they hear something, but they have the instinct. Why would he not? Oh my God. That was so dumb. See, a play like this will work. Look at this. Okay. Like, if Shotzzy kills 2, freebie in the back, I don't know where he's going to spawn. I'm assuming he'll spawn out as long as Shotzzy stays alive. But now 5's would turn to focus on Shotzzy, and then 6 would be in a 2v1. Like, oh, I guess well, still a 2v1. That's why it's like this play that Shotzzy does, dude, it might work 2 out of 10 times, but the right play, like, for 8 out of 10 times is just to kill Cellium. Like, this is just stupid. Because it's like, this guy is more important. I mean, sound EQ, whatever. At the end of the day, bro, like, get the free kill. You have plenty of time. The only, like, he's not going to solo break this hill. Even in this spot, you should be killing. You should be killing Cellium. Because that's why it's like the high efficiency play, right? That's what Ant was going for. But at the end of the day, you should just get the one kill, because it helps the team out way more than doing all this shit. Like, this stupid high risk. Like, they probably actually could have won this game if he just killed Cell. I mean, well, maybe not. If he would have killed Cell and then won the 1v1 in the hill, OpTic wins.
They think your team are just behind on learning what's like to play. No. I just think with this team, like, we're a new team and we have, like, I would just say, like, teamwork issues at times. Like, I think it's kind of like it's a small thing that, like, gets better over time. It's just, like, sometimes, like, people don't think they're in the play, and, like, that happens. And it's just, like, I think recently, like I said before, we've been working on that. And, like, for me, comms-wise, I've been actually getting my comms, like, better to help out the team overall. And I think, like I said, we have a step in the right direction. Like I said, I think as a team, mentality-wise, we're in a good spot. I'll say that. Oh, how about that? Believe it or not. I'll say that.
So I thought it was pretty interesting what Kenny had to say, though, on kind of the teamwork issues. There's no doubt that this team, when it was initially formed, there were questions on, okay, Pred and Shotzzy, I would say probably especially how that was going to work from an SMG side, and they seem to bounce off each other pretty well in the kind of middle of December. So from the start of January, there's been a question mark on that. Even during that FaZe comms video, there were times when, you know, aBeZy would get killed by Pred laying down, and then at the same time, Shotzzy is just going absolutely rampant on the other side of the map. So, you know, pacing, teamwork, these are all sometimes buzzwords that get thrown around, but sometimes for good reason. And Kenny says that really, based on the way they played this last weekend, you'd think their teamwork was terrible, you'd think they were a terrible team, but actually he reckons that they've been making progress on that, they're looking better in practice than maybe they were elsewhere, and there are maybe some caveats of the series this past weekend. The Miami one was pretty bad, to be honest, and that is the concern for them. There is people that say, well, go to LAN and it's going to be a different story, Miami won't be as good, and maybe there's some truth to that in their playstyle, because it's just so aggressive. Maybe if you play a bit slower on LAN, which tends to be the case, you can take advantage of it. There's also the crowd effect, potentially, like OpTic obviously going to have the backing of the crowd, but I don't know, Vikul as a player seems to kind of thrive on that environment. I'm not sure that's really going to play too much to OpTic's advantage. There was also this noted during the comms video towards the end, clearly aBeZy and the FaZe guys knew full well that OpTic were lagging, because aBeZy actually said it, like, their pings are screwed, so these guys are tweaking right now, like, they're not having a good time, and, you know, we obviously saw the reality of that on the other side of things when OpTic tweeted it after the fact, and maybe that's why, because when you're watching this series, it was like, where are the trades? There were no trades for OpTic. They were just going in and dying one by one, and often that kind of means that you're just checked out of it, right? Nobody's saying, all right, guys, slow down, let's take this serious. They just keep running on in and dying, and that is explainable to some degree if they were just checked out because of the ping situation. So aBeZy realised that, and sure, a small caveat, I guess, on the series against FaZe. Would they have beaten them anyway? Probably not, but, you know, would it have been more competitive? Probably yes. It's just that Miami series at the start of the weekend is going to raise some serious questions when they play them again, and even if they beat Miami, they play FaZe next. But this is the setup for the upcoming weekend, so definitely the pick of the bunch winners bracket games is this one. It's the most difficult one to predict, really. OpTic is still, in terms of chances of winning the entire tournament, are considered to be slightly more likely than Miami, but to win this particular series, it's very much up in the air at the moment. And also Miami, I thought it was interesting to notice that Heretics, back in CDL 2019, they started out 5-2. They've started out this year 5-2 as well, and like, they didn't really, Heretics, replicate that so much when it went to LAN. It was, you know, top 6s, top 8s, I think, is kind of where they ended up finding themselves. But, you know, back then it was 5v5. It's actually a very similar team, of course, today with the guys they currently have. And, you know, they've no doubt done a great job. So they are a team that historically starts the season pretty well. As time progresses, we'll see how that goes. But, you know, I definitely think they've got more talent than people give them credit for, and their teamwork is clearly undeniable. So I think that OpTic will have learned a lot from this past weekend. They'll also have the chance to, you know, look back and really review that series. It does give you some edge when you've lost a series, because Miami are going to go in thinking, well, we beat OpTic the other day, we can definitely do so again. OpTic are going to, well, I'm sure, look really hard back at that VOD, back at that match, to understand what they could have done differently, where they can go differently in the vetoes, and after you've just lost a series, the chance of you winning it next time does tend to be significantly higher. So I still think OpTic are the slight favourites for that one, but yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. And also just this quick between Drazah and Kenny, hopefully we get another OpTic FaZe rematch at this event, because, you know, last year they played, what, 5 times? The year before they played like 6 or 7 times. So I'm hoping that we get lots of those matchups this season, because I think the scene thrives on it. And if both of those teams win their first round matchup, then we will absolutely get that one again. So Drazah with a few words here for Kenny, but very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.